current treasurer, really cites this book a lot. As far as, what are some of the things? So he had recommendations in that book. What recommendations do you think most have stood the test of time from this book?
Well, what's interesting is that in the initial chapter outline, we had suggested to do the recommendations as the last chapter.
Right, right.
And after working on this for a year and a half, it became obvious that was probably the meatiest part of the book.
Mm-hmm.
So we agreed, we talked about it and agreed to make it chapter number 1. And just before going to press, I asked Harlan, I said, Harlan, how long do you think it will take? And these were mostly things the legislature had to do. How long do you think it will take before a few of these are implemented? He said, Charles, I'll be happy if by the time I retire, they are just talking about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they haven't even been talking about it before.
Right.
Before he retired, they had pretty well adopted all but one of the
Wow,
recommendations.
how about that? Okay.
And the one recommendation that was in there, he changed his mind on.
Oh, really? What was that?
That was the one of better participation in government,
Okay.
allowing the people
Right.
to initiate a referendum.
Okay.
If the legislature is stubborn and doesn't want to do something that 80% of the people agree with,
Right.
then a lot of people, and I still believe that that's a fair thing to do, ought to have the opportunity to weigh in as the public,
Right.
with certain reasonable setbacks. And he changed his mind. Somebody said, no, that would get too out of control. And California has gone a little bit overboard, with those popular referendums.
Right, right.
But one of the things also that he felt about, and he was very, very tactful on saying this, is that he felt the legislature, then controlled by his own party, the Democrats,
Yeah.
were too powerful.
Right.
And they weren't listening to the governor, or they weren't listening to the people on certain things.
Yeah.
And that's one reason he agreed to this proposal.
Right.
But Harlan had an interesting way of dealing with controversy. On more than one occasion, I would be with him in his office, and someone would come in with a recommendation of the most cockamamie scheme you have ever seen. I mean,
Yeah.
An elementary school kid would not approach something like this. And Harlan would look at me, and it was all I could do to keep from bursting out laughing. And Harlan would sort of, bite his lips. And he would say, well, you can pursue that if you want to. But personally, I think you'll be outrunning your headlights.
Okay. Yeah, I like that saying. Yes. Just.
On more than one occasion, I heard him tell people that. And what he's saying, don't do that, that's stupid.
So he did, interesting enough, Democrat, but at the time feeling like the influence of one party was
Right.
too strong at the
He was.
time. So he was. I appreciate that about the book. He really did sort of like the diversity of voices and debates,
Right.
in I guess in policy,
Right.
to keep the balance. So that's.
But, it was a great honor for me to work with Harlan. In all of my career working, the years I spent with him were the most enjoyable, and I think the most productive.